Sticking with our national lead, the rise of anti-Semitism across America, Republican Congressman Mike Lawler of New York and Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey have introduced a new resolution that condemns the surging distribution of hate-filled anti-Semitic rhetoric and content at the hands of prominent online personalities. Congressman, welcome to the show.
So this is a perfect establishment segment. You've got establishment media and CNN, and Jake Tapper is a perfect symbol of it. Then you've got establishment Republican and Mike Lawler, and establishment Democrat and Josh Gottheimer. The Uniparty has assembled, and they are here to tell you, bow your head to Israel. Oh, that is so weird. I thought for a second there, they might be like, hey, you know what? Maybe the war's not going well. Gottheimer's theoretically a Democrat. Jake Tapper's theoretically a journalist. And they were gonna have a conversation about, hey, should we keep listening to Israel as they drive us into disastrous wars? No, it turns out they found out the real problem. Hasan Piker and Candace Owens. All the guys who died in the Iran war, the civilians in Iran, are service members. The 400 billion apparently we're gonna have to spend on this war, not a problem. The real problem is two naughty people in this country who have said things that have upset Israelis. How dare they? They should be sanctioned. So they've actually introduced a resolution, not to stop the war, God forbid, okay? But to condemn Hasan and Candace. So let me read you from the resolution, then we'll go back to some of these clips because they're amazing. They say, whereas the rise of digital media platforms has enabled individuals with large audiences to disseminate disinformation, wink, wink, commentary and political viewpoints to millions of viewers worldwide. Okay, let's pause there because that's so funny. They're like, whereas the truth is getting out online and we have to stop it, we have to pass this resolution condemning anyone online saying the truth. Whereas we used to control the mainstream media like this segment you're about to watch with Jake Tapper, and they were good little boys and girls and always told you that Israel was the victim. Now these rabble-rousers online are telling you the truth. We're gonna have to condemn it, okay? Second part of the resolution, whereas such influence carries a heightened responsibility to avoid rhetoric that promotes hatred, violence, or discrimination against any group, including Jewish individuals and communities. Wait, does that include Muslim communities or Armenian communities? Because if you wanted to condemn someone spreading hatred and rhetoric that might lead to violence, good news. There's one right next to you, your colleague Randy Fine. He has said on several occasions that we should murder everyone in Gaza, 2.2 million people. One time he said we should drop a nuclear bomb and kill them all. Another time he said we should starve them all to death. Millions of people, starve them to death. That is borderline, not borderline, that is literally what the Nazis said, right? They just couldn't find a way to condemn him. I mean, he doesn't have any power. He's not online, okay? I mean, he's just a poor little congressman. But why did I mention Armenian communities? Recently, Representative Randy Fine said that no Armenian should be allowed to run for office. What? Okay, so why? Because Dan Bilzerian is running against him and he's Armenian. Plus, Armenians are in southern Lebanon and the Armenian militia is fighting back against Israel's invasion of Lebanon. So no, that's it. Now the Armenians are canceled too. Gee, I wonder why they don't like our network with me and Anna. But weird, they couldn't find a way to condemn him. No. What is the important ones? Including Jewish individuals and communities, the most important thing in the whole wide world. Okay, now should you condemn anti-Semitism? Of course you should. Should you do like 208 resolutions as they have in Congress over and over again? Condemning anti-Semitism, condemning it. We got it, dude, we hate it, we don't want it, I got it. Nope, never enough, never enough. No, it's not to cover up Israel's war crimes and distract you and make it seem like Israel's supporters are the victims. They're the victims, right? No, it's because this is the most important issue in the country. So let me keep going. Whereas anti-Semitism has surged in the United States and globally in recent years, fueled in part by online disinformation, conspiracy theories, and extremist rhetoric. So what does that mean? They call disinformation when you say that Israel's committed a genocide. They're like, no, we didn't murder every Palestinian. So that doesn't count. No, that's a Holocaust. A genocide is targeting a group in whole or in part. 86% of genocide scholars say that it's a genocide. But when you say, they're like, spreading disinformation, how dare you oppose Israel? Wait, I thought this was about Jewish people. Because I love Jewish people. I got Jewish family, I got Jewish friends. I almost everyone I've supported for president in the last, 10 years. Well, there's only been one, no, not one. I supported Bernie Sanders, and then I supported Josh Shapiro for vice president for Kamala Harris. But no, not good enough. You have to kiss Israel's ass. Okay, got you. Yeah, sure. So the resolution goes on to list comments, naughty comments that Hasan and Candace has made. Although on air they lied about what Hasan said. We'll get back to that in a second. So, but it calls for action. It is a sense of the House of Representatives that social media and streaming platforms should take appropriate steps to enforce their policies against hate speech and prevent the spread of anti-Semitic content. In other words, they should cancel everyone who disagrees with Israel. Because there isn't anything you could say about Israel that Jake Tapper, Mike Lawler, and Josh Gottheimer wouldn't call anti-Semitic. They killed 23,000 kids. Blood libel, that's a trope. Well, is it true? Yeah, it's true, but shut up, you're not allowed to say it. That's it. We love the monopoly we have in mainstream media. No one's allowed to disagree with Israel. No one's allowed to call it a genocide. These rascals online, they're letting people see the Palestinian kids we murdered with their own eyes. Now, they could see Gaza's completely and utterly destroyed. Remember how we had Jake Tapper and all our dogs in mainstream media pretend that, a hospital, right in the beginning of the conflict in Gaza. Israel would never hit a hospital. You're all anti-Semites, right? And then they hit every hospital in Gaza. Jake, did you ever come back on air? I might have missed it. And say, by the way, sorry, I said in the beginning that Israel would never hit a hospital. That can't possibly be true. But then they hit every single hospital in Gaza. And now they're destroying schools and hospitals in Iran and in Lebanon. Weird, we didn't get that correction. Actual violence, no problem. Actual hatred of Palestinians as you ethnically cleanse them and commit a genocide against them, and now the Lebanese, not a problem. Anyone who's criticizing them in an unacceptable way, that's the real problem. Everybody squirrel. Okay, so before I get to how much money they've taken from the Israeli lobby, because you're not gonna find that out on CNN, shh, don't ever let anyone say the truth. Because if they find out how much money that they've taken from the Israeli lobby, anti-Semite, that's a trope. Everything's a trope. Like, hey, it rained today in Israel, trope. Okay, so let's let them talk for themselves. Go ahead, let's hear him out.
This is one that I think across the political spectrum, we have seen a rise of anti-Semitism, especially on social media. And a lot of it at the voice of people like Hasan Piker and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, among others, who are promoting anti-Semitic hate speech, who continually seem to engage in longstanding anti-Semitic tropes. I did a meeting yesterday with high school students in my district, and a lot of the questions centered around Israel, the war in Iran, and frankly, a lot of it focused on some of the positioning that we hear, where Israel seems to be blamed for a lot of things that happen in the world.
Wait, so the students were anti-Semitic for asking you about Israel? Or asking you about the war in Iran? The war in Iran is like the biggest news story in the country. If you even ask about a war we started, that's anti-Semitic? Oh my, these guys are so embarrassing. Now you see the children of America are all anti-Semites. Our next resolution will be condemn every child in America. They are not listening to Israel. He didn't even bother pretending that it had anything to do with Jewish people. He just said Israel and the war we started. But wait, the war we started with Iran, I thought that was for American interests, right, Mike Lawler? So it was for Israeli interests. That's why you brought it up in this context, okay? And anyone who criticizes Israel, because he didn't say Jews, he said Israel, anti-Semites, okay? So this is what passes for journalism on television. I mean, Jake lets them ramble all these things. He said that Hasan said anti-Semitic things. That's not true. Hasan has said plenty of controversial things, but he never said the things that they said that he said. Because even that they have to make up. They're like, how do we distract? How do we pretend that everyone who is legitimately criticizing a genocide and a disgusting war and ethnic cleansing of 1 million people in Lebanon are all anti-Semites, it should be canceled? They're literally trying to cancel Americans from having this freedom of speech to criticize Israel. It's so disgusting. All right, here's more of this dumpster fire.
So Congressman Gottheimer, obviously the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law establishing the freedom of speech or of the press. What do you say to somebody who wonders, are you not risking running afoul of that?
That's one thing, as your last guest talked about. It's one thing to speak up and let your point of view be known. It's another to incite hate and violence targeted at others. Hasan Piker, Candace Owens, this is hate speech intended to incite violence.
So what's funny is Jake's like pretending that he's a journalist, and he's like, well, some might say, I'm certainly not saying, and you should definitely ban anyone criticizing Israel, but some might say it's a little inconvenient because there is a First Amendment right to say whatever you want, right? And then Gottheimer's like, no, when it comes to Israel, it doesn't count. You take away their First Amendment rights, besides which all Americans are anti-Semites anyway, okay? Especially the kids, and especially anyone online. So you're allowed to take away their First Amendment rights if they criticize Israel? Is that a thing? Because I might have missed that in the Constitution. Oh, we're calling it hate speech. Wait, is that even a thing? Can you say, okay, for example, let's murder 2 million Muslims. Oh, right, no, that is actually protected by the First Amendment. I don't need to take away Randy Fine's speech rights away because I like when he exposes himself, right? Oh my God, not physically. It's a terrible visual, okay? No, when they go mask off and they tell you who they are. I don't have any problem with any speech because I could just counter it with my speech. But these guys, they don't want any speech because they can't counter it. That's why they're like, if I don't like it, it's we're gonna call that hate speech. And then we're gonna make up a thing where you're allowed to ban hate speech in the First Amendment. Not a thing. You've apparently not read the First Amendment at all. But by the way, did Jake Tapper push back on that? I watched the whole segment, not 1%. He's like, good, check, yep, F the First Amendment, take away Americans' rights, they've opposed Israel. Okay, but they're not done yet, one more.
Well, Congressman Lawler, what do you say to somebody who might say, look, it's very easy to take on Candace Owens, it's very easy to take on Hasan Piker, but what about the politicians who campaigned with them? Or the politicians who, well, Tucker Carlson spoke at the Republican National Convention in 2024, that by going after these individuals and not the folks who enable them, the people who join them on the campaign trail or such, you're doing something easier than what would need to be done.
Okay, that question was so hilarious because like with the First Amendment question, you're like, wait, is Jake Tapper going in the right direction here? You know me, I give credit where credit is due. And so from time to time, even Jake will say something like, oh, that's not bad, okay, fun, fantastic, right? No, he went right back around to like, well, now you're canceling Hasan Piker and Candace Owens as if this is a real issue in America. And we shouldn't be discussing whether we should fund a genocide. We should instead have this conversation on CNN, okay. But have you thought through whether you should also cancel Tucker Carlson? And anyone who talks to Tucker Carlson or Hasan Piker or Candace Owens. And they, by the way, in the rest of the segment, they went on and on. Jake Tapper did too. Like, and then they're running with politicians, and those politicians, I mean, shouldn't they be included here too? I mean, doesn't anyone who's opposed to Israel, if they ever talk to any other human being that might actually vote on funding of Israel and funding of their wars, they should all be canceled, right? And then all three of them are like, oh yeah, they should be canceled. Yeah, we should pass resolutions taking away their speech rights. We should cancel all the politicians opposed to Israel. We should call them hate speech, etc. Okay. Again, is a genocide hate? No, genocide's not hate, not hate. You say talking about a genocide, that's hate, okay. So, but I'm sure that they came to these opinions on their own, right, with no influence whatsoever. Now, to be fair, these three probably didn't need to get bribed, okay, but they got funded anyway, okay? And the reason for that is so they could defeat their honest opponents. So Josh Gottheimer, how much from the Israeli lobby? Over $2 million. But Jake Tapper will tell you, how dare you talk about that? Are you saying that pro-Israel people are funding Congress? That's a trope. Well, but yes, but Jake, you're in the news business. Are they or aren't they? Did he get $2 million from the Israeli lobby or didn't he? Oh, he did. Is your contention that people who take millions of dollars, politicians who take millions of dollars, are not affected by it? Please say that on TV, because you haven't humiliated yourself enough yet. Okay, let's go to Lawler. $1,069,000, etc. Again, they don't need to convince these two particular guys. Most of the politicians are just do it for the corruption and the intimidation and the bullying, etc. These guys they give money to so that if anyone runs against them, they could just overwhelm them with money because they know that they're going to be loyal to Israel. Trump, oh my God, you can't say that. Now, every time they've ever voted has been pro-Israel to finance them for every single dollar they've asked for, to go into every war they've asked for. Every single time they've voted with Israel and they've taken millions of dollars from the Israeli lobby. But you're not allowed to say any of those things because we invented this concept called tropes, which makes us invincible. You can't criticize anything we do because I guarantee you I could find a trope for it. Now, does any other group or country or nationality or religion have that kind of protection? Nope. You can say anything you like about them. Trope! You're singling out pro-Israel people. I'm certainly not singling out Jewish people. AIPAC eliminated Andy Levin. Were you enraged by that, Jake? Did you do a segment censuring AIPAC for taking out a perfectly good representative who happens to be Jewish American just because he said he was in favor of a two-state solution? I'll wait. And by the way, to be fair, I mean, the number of segments they've done on CNN condemning Randy Fine, it's Jake Tapper in particular. I believe Jake's count is 0. And what he'll say is, oh, I did a small little tweet once so that I'm on the record as like, oh, I also slightly object to the mass genocide that Randy Fine is in favor of. I'm covered, I'm a journalist. Are you? Are you? Now, we did find a picture behind the scenes that might be a little bit of a tell, but now, just because they have this picture doesn't mean that they serve Israel. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm playing, it's AI, it's not a real picture, okay? But this is basically what they're telling us, guys. Like, no, if you object to Israel, we're gonna pretend you said it about Jewish people, and then we're gonna smear you, and we're gonna try to ruin your life, and we're gonna waste Congress's time objecting to the First Amendment rights of American citizens. You're all gonna need to shut up and pay Israel $310 billion as if that's normal in the lifetime of Israel. That's the amount of money they have taken out of our pockets. Trump, wait, that's literally true. You can't say that about Israel. Can I say it about France? Yes, you can say it about France. What is this, right? So we've given them $310 billion and they say, that's why? Jake says special ally. What does special ally mean? Shut up, anti-Semite. We're gonna condemn you next. That's how you guys look like bullies. You look like thugs, and you are thugs. So Israel has Israel first in the country, on television, in media, in politics, and their job is to make sure they attack the opponents of Israel, fund Israel, drive us into Israel's wars. These are all literal. They're all on the voting record. How did they vote, Jake? On not BS resolutions condemning this guy and the random guy and then that lady, okay? How did they vote on monumental issues of war, fund hundreds of billions of dollars in funding? But if you dare talk about any of that, Team Israel will tell you, shut up, anti-Semite. You're not allowed to say any of those things because Israel supporters here have declared them tropes, and you will be punished, not Israel. So that's the state of our current media and politics in America. But remember, Israel has no control or no influence at all in America. And if you think that, you're gonna get canceled next. Thanks for the warning, guys. We appreciate it. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.